Hey folks, welcome back. This time I thought I'd go ahead and take you behind the scenes on how I created some of the elements in this illustrated montage to show you how some digital techniques can really simplify your workflow when you are developing ideas and drawing. So first up, we'll go ahead and start with the elephant in the room, which is this character here in the center. What I did to create that character is I used the type tool and I looked for a chunky font. In this case, I'm using Destroy Earth BB. And I'm going to use a glyph. So if you go to Window and you choose glyphs, glyphs are basically special characters like the percentage or the copyright symbol, etc. And I just looked for something that looked like the ampersand. I clicked on it. I made it a little bit bigger and I rotated it using the transform tool. I hit return. I flipped it. And I also added a little bit of warp. And before I do that warp, let me just go ahead and rasterize that layer. That's one thing I forgot to do. So rasterizing a layer means that once I convert this, it just converts it to a standard shape. I can't edit the text again. So now if I use the warp tool, I can go ahead and massage it. And you can kind of see how I created that little creature. The only difference is now that it's a shape, I went back, I used the elliptical marquee tool, cut it out, and then came back in with a brush and added some basic textures to kind of make this look a little bit more organic. And then the parts for the nose of this character, I just used the lasso tool and simply removed those excess edges out. So this is starting with an unconventional starting point, but you can see how I was able to develop that central character. I'm going to show you also how I created these rocket ships. The rocket ships, I'm using the symmetry tool. So if I use the brush tool in Photoshop and go up to the butterfly, there's a vertical symmetry tool. I can simply move the symmetry tool, hit return, and start drawing a shape. And as I'm drawing this shape, I'm thinking about wings, I'm thinking about basically all these old school 80s, kind of like asteroids type of games, designing a ship that kind of has that kind of vibe to it. And the symmetry tool is really good because it allows me to pick one half and have the other half automatically being drawn. So I'll just add some really neat inserts and shapes. And then once I'm done with the symmetry tool, I obviously want to make this look a little bit more developed. And so I can apply some type of shading. I can fill this in. I'm hatching in terms of thinking about the contour, the overall shape. And I'll make this window more reflective. I'm using a slightly thicker line. And now I've got this ship. If I want to go ahead and have rocket plumes kind of come out, I can add that in. And then finally rotate. And I've got something that looks like the ship that I have over here. So very, very simple techniques for this dotted line. I'm using the rectangular marquee tool, the rectangular shape tool. And under properties, you have the ability of choosing from a solid line or a dashed line, and you can choose to have no fill, and you can give the stroke a specific value. So I'm making this, maybe I'll set it to 20, and you can see that it creates a dotted line around the perimeter of this shape. I can make it more rounded if I want to, or I can keep the corners. And I just added that as an insert to the back of the top over here. For my alien twins, once again, I used the symmetry tool, and then I went back and I modified it to where each character has a little bit more of a unique pose. And that just kind of makes it look a little bit more organic. And you can see that I've created the sleeves and folds using the technique from my previous video where I'm just starting off with some type of a repeating shape, staggering the placement of that repeating shape, and coming back in and connecting them up to go ahead and create something that looks like a fold. So this is the first of its own kind of videos where I'm kind of going behind the scenes, looking at my own work and sharing tips and techniques that might help you out. If you found some value in this video, please give it a thumbs up and drop me a comment to let me know if you'd like to see more of these kind of behind the scenes videos. I'm just looking for ways of creating educational content that will help you out. So this channel is really fueled by the questions and dialogue that we have in the comments. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Later.